Yes, this is Agent Terpstra, and I have a mission should you choose to accept it. You are to be a part of XCOM, the executive committee to the President of the United States. And your job is to get us out of the Cuban Missile Crisis without blowing up the freaking world. How about that, eh? Okay, so if you'll accept that mission, let's go get him. Here we go. All right, so first of all, here's some information that you need to know. This is October 14th, 1962. They will eventually call this the worst 13 days in American history. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Let's give you some facts. First of all, we have some top secret agents that have taken pictures of these things. So we've done this at great risk to our agents. Here you'll see we have Fidel Castro, the leader of Cuba, and Nikita Khrushchev, the premier of the Soviet Union. They have now decided to become allies and create that communist threat all across the world, right next to us in Cuba, 90 miles off the coast of the United States. This is the most recent map we have of the missiles in Cuba down here. Our first pictures from the U-2 planes showed that they had MRBMs, which knew that we could take out basically this whole part of the United States, including Washington, D.C., 80 million people dead. We now have new information that says they now have IRBMs, which is even more dangerous, which says that they could take out all of the United States except for maybe part of Washington and Oregon State. So we are in serious crisis. Our original estimates were that the missiles were not operational, and that's where we're at right now, but we're very worried that they are going to become operational within the next couple of days. So time is critical, people, absolutely critical. There's your MRBM range and your IRBMs. Obviously, it has done a lot of things to our president. It's a lot of stress for him, and he has heard more information about weapons in Cuba. So here are where most of the missiles are that we've found anyway. Here are the 6 MRBM sites that you see here, and then the IRBMs are over here. You'll notice those. So it's a very dangerous situation. Now you have to remember, we have to think of us as agents from other perspectives. So from the Soviets' perspective, they feel threatened as well because they are surrounded by allies of the United Nations and of the United States. And we, the United States, have missiles in Turkey and in Italy. Now they are old missiles, Jupiter missiles, but they are capable of taking out this much of the Soviet Union, which means that we could take out Moscow, Leningrad, Kiev, important cities in the Soviet Union. So he felt that putting missiles in Cuba would equalize the threat. So some people would say, why not just take out the missiles in Turkey and then he'll take them out in Cuba? Well, the problem is if we do that now at this moment, that makes us look weak because he basically has a gun to our head. He's got missiles look like right next to the United States and they're pointing at us. So if we do that under threat, it makes us look weak to the rest of the United States and the world. So we've got to be thinking about how we look to our allies in other countries. These are some of the missiles that are involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Right now, we believe he has the SS-4 and the SS-5 in Cuba. There are 32 in Cuba right now, SS-4s. There are 40 of these SS-5s in transit on ships headed for Cuba right now. In the Soviet Union, they have the SS-7 and this big old dog, SS-6 as well. They have 4 of these, 32 of those. United States, obviously, we have our own weapons. We have 9 Minutemen missiles. We have 40 Jupiter missiles, 40 Thor missiles, 85 Atlas missiles, and 50 operational Titan missiles, which are our babies. The ones that we have in Italy and Turkey right now are these right over here. Again, these are our Jupiter missiles. They're a little more obsolete, but they can do some damage. Now, we're also seeing that things are coming up in the newspaper at this point about how the United States feels about our relations with Cuba and what's going on. So we need to keep a close eye on that as agents. Take a look at how they're portraying the president sweating and nervous, as well as Khrushchev. They're sweating and they're trying to put this big old monster back in the box of nuclear war because we definitely don't want a World War III, but we also don't want to look weak. This is another one that I really liked. Kind of interesting. We have put an embargo on Cuba, meaning that we're not trading with Cuba at all, and we're encouraging all of our allies not to trade with Cuba. But notice how the United Nations feels about that. They're kind of encouraging us to lift the embargo, try to make nice with Cuba, but we also have to remain strong as well. Walter Cronkite is the face we see on TV right now. He's the one that is reporting to the people of the United States about the situation. He has done a lot of different things in history, everything from the space race on to other things in the future. How are we communicating with the Soviets? Right now we're using a teletype machine. It's new wave, but unfortunately we have to read every little meaning behind every word, every sentence, because some of the things he says have hidden meanings, obviously. So it's very difficult to understand what exactly he's saying in those messages, and also who's influencing him to say those things. Maybe the military is forcing him to write certain things, or maybe his advisors are telling him to write certain things. So we're trying to decipher which things are really him and which things are the military, and who really has control as well. And then our messages are also masked as well, because we have to play ball too. So it's very difficult. So at this point, here's what I want you to do. To get a little more information on the situation, I want you to stop and do your next assignment, which is the movie 13 Days, and fill out that guide. You will never believe the amazing details that are going on in this situation. If you cannot get the 13 Days movie, then you're going to do the website guide instead and do research on the internet. So go ahead and check that out right now. Okay, and then we'll do the rest of our notes next.